Monday, September 11th, 7:50 a.m. in Maui, Hawaii, and we're in gate 47.2 and 22.2, and how you say transits again are catching up to us. So we're going to be transiting in like 3 hours into the third line. So we'll just keep playing catch up here, and then at some point we'll be ahead of the transits. That's right. Great. So okay, so 47, oppression and realization. This is in the ajna. It's a restrictive and adverse state as a result of internal weakness or external strength, or both. Line 2 is ambition. Exaltation is the ambition and drive to overcome personal oppression in order to achieve security, realizing that to be busy is mentally healthy. Mm-hmm. And the detriment is an indecisiveness in times of personal oppression, whether to apply intelligence to recovery, its weight to take advantage of other prevailing conditions that may only be temporary. The inability to sense when and which activity is healthy.
The detriment's still like the inability.
Inability to sense when activity is healthy. So we're talking about mental activity and understanding that mental activity is a healthy thing, right? Again, we just don't use it to make decisions.
Right.
So that's kind of important to note.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Actually, I have this gate.
You do.
Yeah, it's in the third line, which is self-oppression. But currently, I experience 47 as this this part of me that wants to answer these questions, or is able to answer these questions of like, how did I end up here? And the mental activity that kind of spins around in that. And like yesterday, I think I forget what I was doing, but I was just looking out the window, kind of feeling sorry for myself. And I was like, how did I get here? Like, I'm just a dad. Like, I work, and then I have to come back home and do dishes and all this stuff. And I was like feeling myself kind of falling in the detriment of the first line, which is the sense that the world is against you. And then I realized, I was like, oh, I get to tell myself whatever story I want. Like, I get to focus my mind on whatever story I want. And so one thing that kind of helps me to ground into reality is, and this is sometimes a double-edged sword, but sometimes I think about all the other realities that could have played out and where I would have been. Like, I could have been like waking up like all tweaked out from the night before, and
noon or 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like it like really makes me appreciate the days that I have now, because they're so wholesome. And that's something that I've always admired from my parents, is like the wholesome lifestyle. It's just they had a different style about it, and they had a different energy on it. Theirs was very like just scooting by and not really being grateful for what was there. I mean, they were grateful people, but there's definitely this like, oh, we want to get somewhere else. And I noticed that in me. And so a lot of the times my 47 kind of goes off and is like thinking like, oh, am I being like just like my parents and blah, blah, blah. And the reality is no, because that's impossible. But also yes, because there's no other way around that other than to be like the people that raised me. Yeah. And so how can I, again, acknowledge that being busy mentally is healthy, right? And not falling into this trap of, ultimately the sense that the world is against me, right?
Right.
Can't see or hear me. Can you guys hear okay?
Is everybody hearing us?
Yeah, is everyone hearing us okay?
So. We got the green thing going. Doo-doo.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, sometimes the Discord is funny like that.
Yeah, you might just have to go out of the app and start over.
Oh, there's no video, huh?
No video, eh?
How about now? Is the video there?
How about now, brown cow?
Anyway, as long as we got the audio, that's good. Let's do the I Ching.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
Y'all ready for some confusing words?
Time for some confusing.
9 in the second place means one is oppressed while at meat and drink. The man with the scarlet knee bands is just coming. It furthers one to offer sacrifice. To set forth brings misfortune, no blame. This pictures a state of inner oppression. Externally, all is well. One has meat and drink, but one is exhausted by the commonplaces of life, and there seems to be no way of escape. Then help comes from a high place. A prince. In ancient China, princes wore scarlet knee bands, is in search of able helpers, but there are still obstructions to be overcome. Therefore, it is important to meet these obstructions in the invisible realm by offerings and prayers. To set forth without being prepared would be disastrous, though not morally wrong. Here, a disagreeable situation must be overcome by patience of spirit.
You guys heard it. Patience of
Patience.
spirit.
Yeah, today is probably a good day to pray.
Yeah. I was
Whether
just
you
thinking that.
whether you pray or not,
Okay.
like whatever prayer looks like to you, highly recommend it.
Mhm.
I knew this transit was coming because I read it yesterday. Technically, we've been in this transit, and
Yeah.
this morning I went and did one of my most potent forms of prayer, which is meditation and kung fu, and I feel great.
Excellent. Yes. And I did my prayers by going in and hanging out with my daughter and throwing her around a bunch and feeding her bananas. All right.
Time to pray, family.
Yes, indeed. Nixie says, guess I'll suffer.
Guess I'll suffer.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing is like, I forget someone posted on one of my videos the other day. I brought the didgeridoo videos back on TikTok, which was really fun. They were like, the pyramids were built with frequency. And I said, yes, but like everything is built with frequency. Like there's no way to escape the universe of frequency. Like it's not like you can just exist as a form and not as a frequency. And so to kind of bring Nixie's little comment in here, in the sense that it's like, I guess I'll suffer because I'm not going to pray. There's no way to escape the prayer. Really, it's kind of like everything that you do is a prayer because everything that you do is a frequency. Every frequency that you put out to the world ultimately aligns and harmonizes you with things of a harmonic frequency, or it serves to make the contrast that much more apparent to you. And so, I think there's no escaping suffering, and I wouldn't want to escape the suffering because ultimately that is what really gives life a lot of its flavor and a lot of its color. Similar to like emotions and the solar plexus, which this is not in the solar plexus, but the earth gate is in the solar plexus. And it's one of those things that's right. Like people all the time are trying to meditate and they're like, I can't get my mind to shut off. And I'm like, you're not trying to shut your mind off. I mean, maybe you're trying to shut your mind off, but if you attempt to shut your mind off, then you die. Like you brain dead, and now you dead. It's like trying to shut your heart off or trying to get your stomach to stop doing what it was made to do. And so, the invitation is to, again, with 47, it's just like this, how you say, again, with this transit in particular, is the invitation is to accept and recognize that the busy mind is a natural thing. Like that's a function of the mind, is to be busy. And so it's question is like, again, what are you applying it to? Instead of why is this happening to me? It's like, what is happening to me? Instead of, why is the world out against me? Or why is this happening to me? Is like, how is this happening for me? So that I can ultimately come towards my prayer. It's like, what's that? That's Evan Almighty, I think, where they talk about such a good movie. He's like, if you pray for patience, do you think God gives you patience, or are you given opportunities to be patient? If you pray for strength, are you given strength, or are you given the opportunity to cultivate strength? And that's literally what it is. And so with every move, with every posture, we're ultimately in a constant state of prayer. Breathing is a prayer. And I remember there was a time in my life when I was really adverse to prayer, and even the term God would just like turn me off. And I was like, nah, fuck this. This person doesn't know what they're talking about. And, I've since then relaxed that and been able to see that, like, each culture connects with the divine in a different way based off of the forms that they're in. Like a desert civilization or a desert people will pray differently than the forest people, who will pray differently than the islanders, right? And if you can see beyond the differences, and it's not even seeing beyond the differences, but be able to account for the differences and then also recognize the similarities, like they're doing the same thing, right? They may have different chants and different languages and stuff, and sometimes even those are overlaid, which is cool. But we're all doing the same thing, which is, connecting to the world around us and using that connection to the world around us as a connection to something beyond.
Thanks.
All right. 22.
22.
Grace. This is in the solar plexus, and it's grace and openness, a quality of behavior best suited in handling mundane and trivial situations. And this is line 2, Charm School, which is the belief that style can mask nature. In the exaltation, we don't have an exaltation it's in exaltation today. So the exaltation is the ability to successfully delude one's self and others, the possibility to attract others with an emotional style. And then just for reference, the detriment is the legalization of form over substance, where style is energized at the expense of awareness, which, because we're in the sun, or we have the 47 in the sun, this is fixed in the exaltation. So the possibility to attract others with awareness, the possibility to attract others with an emotional style. Having emotional style, I love that.
I love that too.
Emotional style. Yeah,
That's great. It's pretty straightforward.
Why do you love
honestly,
that? Why do you love that? Yeah.
Well, because I've been on both sides of it, where I give up my normal emotional style to supposedly attract others, and then I attract people that I don't actually like, because it's like, I'm giving off this emotional style of like who I am, but then it's like, oh, I'm not really that person. So not only am I like bringing myself out of my own natural state, but then I'm also like attracting people who are just not actually attractive to me emotionally. Maybe they're physically attractive to me, but it's like, oh, I'm not like, it's not going to work out that way. Whereas, it's inauthenticity. Exactly. Natural emotional style, which I've been working on cultivating for my entire life, then naturally I'm just going to attract people who are very similar to me, and who think similarly of me, and who act similarly of me, who have the same amount of chill as me, or quiet, and like
me.
Exactly. And 3-5s, all you 3-5s out there, something about y'all, the opposite side of the 2-4, y'all are sick. I love you.
Right. Yeah. And
all my odd numbers.
Yeah, dude, it's so funny. I think I was talking about that yesterday, about how like the 2-4-6 is very, I don't know, saying is trusting. That's too blanket of a statement, but the 1-3, like mistrust and pointy lines,
right.
and so it's
rigidity.
Yeah, but you need both, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like if you have a tree that is very trusting, but it's not strong, also blows it down. And so with life, you got to have both. And if you look at your stats in the Neutrino app, it's another really cool feature that no other app does, is it'll show you your lines. Right. So it's like, you guys can look at my line right there. Is that me? Yeah, that's me. Just gotta make sure.
3 and 6.
So those are my lines. Red is 1, orange is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so I got a lot of third lines. I got a lot of, right? But then if you look at my colors, which I still don't even fully understand, I got a hella heretic colors up in there. So,
which I feel like you wear a lot of blue, and like,
I do.
I don't know if that corresponds really at all, but like, I feel like blue is one of your colors.
Yeah, I remember one time too, actually, my girlfriend's favorite color was green. Like, my first girlfriend ever, her favorite color was green, and mine was blue. And typical reflector shit, at some point in the relationship, I decided that my favorite color was also green. And my favorite color is blue, though. And so, like, you look at my shirt. This is a new shirt, by the way.
Oh, I haven't seen this
I just designed this one. It's this is like what I believe like a reflector aura is kind of looks like, which is, you can't really see too much on the detail of the shirt.
Yeah.
It's all printed.
So,
But
Koei, I just want to point out
Yeah, yeah.
this real quick. You know, it is true that like attracts like, but it's like, you know, it also attracts the opposites too,
Right.
in some ways. Like we were talking about, like opposite, like even numbers attracting like odd numbers. You know,
Mhm.
like we're the complete opposite of each other.
Mhm.
You know, human design wise, that reflector and then like fully defined manifesting generator.
Mhm.
That's like, but somehow it just works great
Right.
because our energies are very different, but they're also very same.
Right. It's like the left brain and the right brain.
Yeah.
And you know, that's the beauty of it, is there has to be some level of companionship. But then if you have too much companionship and no contrast, well,
Mhm.
you know,
That's
then
it
it's
right
just
there.
then you got like fully blown, you know, right brain hippies who are just doing all these drugs and stuff. And then you've got on the other side, you've got the extreme scientists who like only believe, you know, what they can prove in a test tube. And it's like that's so much of what you know, Eastern philosophies is. They're like, what's the middle way? How can we be in this harmonizing act? And yes, same, but different, because that's one thing about human design is like we all have all these genes in us. It's
Mhm.
just which ones are awakened and resonating based off of like the bell of our birth that woke us up.
Yeah.
Right. And then Dragon, for
Got it.
yeah, it's if you just go to your chart down here on the tabs, it says modes and stats. And then you just scroll down.
Scroll down.
And you got all this stuff.
So much.
All these charts and
So,
things.
and then you can see what your balance of yin and yang is.
Right.
Like, yeah, I guess.
Which is like, this is my
Goes
yin
deep.
yang balance. So I'm more yang than yang. I mean, I'm more yang than yin.
I'm more yang than yang.
My dyslexia right there. But
Good
my
way to
like
see-
my
oh, yeah,
design
just a
is
little,
more
just
yin,
one.
but my personality is more masculine than it is feminine, which is 100% true.
Yeah, mine's like the perfect balance.
And Luke is like 13 yang, 13 yin.
Yeah, designs more yin, personalities more yang. It's crazy up in here.
Yeah.
All this human design. All right, should we get line 2 of this one?
Yeah, hit it.
6 in the second place means lends grace to the beard on his chin. The beard is not an independent thing. It moves only with the chin. The image therefore means that form is to be considered only as a result and attribute of content. The beard is a superfluous ornament. To devote care to it for its own sake, without regard for the inner content of which it is an ornament, would bespeak a certain vanity. So it's like, I don't look at a dude with a big nice beard and be like, that's a fucking wizard. That guy's got knowledge. It's like, what are the words that are gonna come out of his mouth? Because I can go talk to him and be like, yeah, dog, what's up? I just popped a Molly, you know. Okay, fuck this guy. I don't even want to talk to him unless he's got some wizard shit to say after the Molly. But like, you know, like, it's like, I'm not gonna base someone's character. It's like, don't judge a book by its cover. Basically, is what I get from this one. It's like, actually, what is the content of the book? What's the content of the person? So with that, it's like, you know, maybe you see something beautiful out there today, but it's like, what's the action behind the beauty, or
what's the intent behind the cultivation of the beauty is what I got. Because superfluous is like, it's surface level, it's pretty, but it doesn't actually have like it. The point of it being pretty is, you know, not a deeper cultivation, but a external desire to be beautiful. It's like the dude that works on his core all the time so that he can have a six pack, as opposed to the person that actually trains their core strength and is actually strong in the core all around, versus the superfluous. Because like the six pack, what you see, that's the superfluous muscles. Yeah. Like you could have a really nice six pack, but have really terrible abdominal pressure. In which case, I just punch you once in the obliques, and you're railing. So, what's up, Prana? How we doing? Need the interconnectivity of those muscle groups. So, Dragon, one which it's in the I need to change the Hunter channel. I need to upload a new video. But anyway, one thing that you can do is if you just get like a long athletic band and you just wrap it around your core, to the point where it's like squeezing you. You can even do this with your hands. Like if you just like squeeze into your stomach right here, and then you push your fingers out. See how I did that? And then the key is when you exhale to not let the fingers come back in. So inhale, push it out, and then exhale.
Tight.
Keep the abdominal pressure out. So that's a super easy. I mean, you could do that like while you're studying. You could wear the band while you're running. You could wear it while you're like laying down, just breathing on your phone. You know, it's something that, again, in terms of core strength, so much of our body and our whole, you know, thoracic and lower fucking part of our body, it's all, how you say, reinforced by the breath. And so with each breath, it's kind of like a barrel full of water. And when you have a barrel full of water, like the water is pushing out evenly in all directions, right? And so that's kind of how you want to think when you fill your body up, instead of just like filling up your diaphragm or your lungs. Rather than just inflating this balloon, think about water filling up the sides of a barrel and applying pressure in all directions of the barrel. Let's see. Prana answered the question about the pentalines. And then Brian says, is that the muscle that pulls everything to the center? It like helps relax all the outer muscles, the inner core? Well, there's like your diaphragm, which is like the bellow, right? That when they talk about, you know, in this like concept of chest breathing, like, which a lot of people are stuck in the chest breathing. The first step is although the lungs are filling up the are the things that are extracting the oxygen, the diaphragm is the thing that actually like pulls air into the lungs. And so when you're talking about you know, strength and getting everything to relax, like a lot of the time people are they have, you know, hypertension in certain areas and not enough tension in other areas. And so a lot of the time what they'll try and do is release the tension in those hypertense areas, when you can actually just strengthen the weakened area, and that will actually take away some of the load from, you know, the chest and bring it down into the stomach and the core. So again, best technique that I have is like you just take your little crab claw and you pinch yourself in the side right here where it's usually kind of weak, and then you just try and like push out. So yeah, so the core is a muscular cylinder. The top is a diaphragm, the bottom is the floor, front and sides are transverse abdominis, and the back is the lumbar multiple. Yes, Prana knows many things about the body, and I talk from, you know, an experience level of like being a martial artist and being mostly a martial artist, in the sense where it's like, you know, feel like I have soft spots in the belly, and so I will, and I grew up training martial arts, so it's like I always had a six pack, but it wasn't until I started training biomechanics really that I started learning how to pressurize that strength in a better way. And by better, I mean like more efficient, more stabilized, but also like more fluid and natural. And there was more connectivity between the top part of my body and the lower part of my body.
Yeah.
Which I totally forget, Prana, that that you do. Yeah, that you do what you do. Some part of those things. Well, we got to do another AMA, by the way. Yeah. I'm thinking maybe sometimes this week, if you want to do another AMA, Prana, that'd be awesome. I'd love to get back into one of those containers with you. Engage the pelvic floor like you're holding your pee. Yes, indeed. That's like Kegel exercises are like the contraction of it, and then there's the opposite of the Kegel, which is like pushing out, like kind of like if when you're in your pooping and you're like, you know, you're like the final stretch and you're trying to push it out. So that would be the exhale to the inhale of the holding your pee. And a lot of the times it's like, it's not funny. I heard some like horror stories of people kind of like really wanting to master their sexual energy, and they practice all these Kegels, and then it just kind of messes them up because they're not practicing like the reverse Kegels. They're just doing this inhale, try and suck your balls up in your stomach kind of thing, but they're not doing the push the energy down. So again, yeah, it's like a strong diaphragm with a weak pelvic floor, and a strong pelvic floor but a weak diaphragm. What are you going to do? Yeah, you're going to suffer, basically. So,
put them all together.
Yeah, you got to put them all together. All right. it's Iching time. So now we've gone through the transits, and we're gonna just build our own hexagram just to kind of like guide ourselves throughout the day. So we got
Young.
Young.
9/11.
9/11, man.
Yeah, ano yin.
Yin.
Greater yin.
Greater yin.
So we got thunder on the bottom. Young. Yin.
Oh, is it gonna be one of these?
One of them thunders.
Let's see.
Yang.
Yang. Okay.
Okay, so we got
Thunder
biting
underwater.
through.
Biting through.
Oh wait, nope. Sorry. Back up.
Yang yin yang. Yang yin yang.
Yang yin yang. Oh yeah, no biting through.
21.
That's right. 21.
Cool. Yay, the heart.
We in the heart. Let's see. Shiho, biting through. The judgment biting through has success. It is favorable to let justice be administered. When an obstacle to union arises, energetic biting through brings success. This is true in all situations. Whenever unity cannot be established, the obstruction is due to a talebearer and a traitor who is interfering and blocking the way. To prevent permanent damage, vigorous measures must be taken at once. Deliberate obstruction of this sort does not vanish of its own accord. Judgment and punishment are required to deter or obviate it. However, it is important to proceed in the right way. The hexagram combines Li, clarity, and Chen, excitement. Li is yielding, Chen is hard. Unqualified hardness and excitement will be too violent in meting out punishment. Unqualified greatness and gentleness, unqualified clarity and gentleness would be too weak. The two together create the just measure. It is of moment that the man who makes the decisions, represented by the fifth line, is gentle by nature, while he commands respect by his conduct and his position. The image, thunder and lightning, the image of biting through. Thus the kings of former times made firm the laws through clearly defined penalties. Penalties are the individual applications of the law. The laws specify the penalties. Clarity prevails when mild and severe penalties are clearly differentiated according to the nature of the crimes. This is symbolized by the clarity of lightning. The law is strengthened by a just application of penalties. This is symbolized by the terror of thunder. So, clarity. Nature of crimes is lightning. Terror of thunder is penalties. This clarity and severity have the effect of instilling respect. It is not that the penalties are ends in themselves. The obstructions in the social life of man increase when there is lack of clarity in the penal codes and slackness in executing them. The only way to strengthen the law is to make it clear and to make penalties certain and swift.
So it's not enough to have boundaries, but you also have to have penalties to the boundaries, where it's like, if you disrespect this boundary or you disrespect this standard, I'm erecting the boundary and now you no longer have access. Rather than like just telling someone, oh, you disrespected the standard and you can still have access to me, right? Mm-hmm. So getting clear on like what the penalties actually are, and then being willing to bite through and dish out the penalties. Lawfully implemented.
Yes.
Indeed.
Lawfully excellent.
Lawfully excellent. And then we have an emphasis in the third line.
Yes.
So it would be 6 in the third place.
6 in the third place means bites on old dried meat and strikes on something poisonous. Slight humiliation, no blame. Punishment is to be carried out by someone who lacks the power and authority to do so. Therefore, the culprits do not submit. The matter at issue is an old one, as symbolized by salted game, and in dealing with it, difficulties arise. This old meat is spoiled. By taking up the problem, the Punisher arouses poisonous hatred against himself, and in this way is put in a somewhat humiliating position. But since punishment was required by the time, he remains free of blame. So it's like you were just talking about, it's like setting a boundary but not fighting through. So it's like the martyr line of it is to make that mistake again and be like, fuck, I just poisoned my own well because I let someone break this boundary again by not really implementing the penalty. Yeah, it's like, oh, I just bit on old dried meat. This shit's gonna make me sick.
Mm. There's also something in there about punishment being dealt out by the without the authority to deal the punishment, and so that would be like, using a mediator as opposed to speaking directly to the person about the thing. Mm-hmm. It's like I remember in Harry Potter when Ron, and I think it's the 4th book. What's that called? Goblet of Fire?
I think that's...
No, that's the 4th one. Anyway, Harry is pissed, or Ron is pissed at Harry for entering this like competition, right? Because they're best friends and they're supposed to do everything together. So Harry and Ron are fighting. And Ron finds something out and he wants to help Harry, but he's like fighting with Harry. So he sends Hermione to give this like, Parvati told me to tell you to meet Hagrid in here. And then basically she gets pissed off because Harry is like, well, you could tell Ron. And she goes like, I'm not an owl. And she gets all pissed off. And so it's like, in that it's like, how you say, when delivering the punishment or when delivering the penalty, to avoid embarrassment in a way, it's like ensure that you have the authority to do so. Exactly. And that you're not like, just using a bird to like send the message that you need to send. So Angel says, first time I've heard biting through, not in reference to 21. This is 21. Mm-hmm. I see how this theme is super relevant today. Yeah, so Angel, we're doing, sometimes we do extra things on top of the transit, but we just did we just created a hexagram. We did like an I Ching reading for all of us. And so again, that to me, it's like further contextualizes the energy that we're transiting through. But that's cool how it's super relevant today. I definitely can see some relevance in that. That's all good. 21 and your son. Nice. I don't have 21. He's got 21.
Dude.
Yeah. I have 45.
Oh,
45, right. 21. Mm-hmm. So as a projector, I hear that as universe uninvited punishment, if the person doesn't see you as an authority to punish, it doesn't land how it should. Brilliant. Yes, that's exactly it. That's beautiful, right? Because like as a projector, especially with like the 1858, like there has a lot of the time she wants to like deal out this like corrective blow, but so often she doesn't have the authority to do that, and she has learned to kind of like talk about it with me because we talk about everything, as opposed to feeling like she has to do that. And so, yeah, brilliant interpretation. After we're done, can you go over how you view in the Neutrino app during recording? Are you doing sun and earth alone? Yeah, totally. So that's so she has so it's right. Just because you have the pressure, just because you have the awareness, doesn't mean that you're being invited to share that awareness, deliver that. So here, let's do this. Take this up over here, and I'm going to put it on here. So this is how I use the transits. Transits are going to be right over here in the transit section, and then as you can see, everything is lit up over here on the transit side. Then I go down to transit settings and I usually turn off everything except for the sun, the earth, and the moon, because those are the strongest influences. And then so now I have this, right? And so this is going to give me a little bit more accurate of a, you want to hold it? Sure. This is going to give me a little bit more accurate of a read on the transits or the things that are affecting me, being the sun, the earth, and then the moon. So when we do the transit, we usually do the sun, and then we do the earth, just because they're paired up. And then again, as a reflector, I always look at the moon and just kind of like vibe out with what's going on with the moon. And then there is this new thing that's being implemented, and it's not implemented yet, so I can't really talk. But that's a really cool way to
Coming
view the
soon.
transits as well. And then you can take this and you can hit play, and you can watch the moon kind of like do its little dance up here. So this is primarily for reflectors to track their lunar transits. But you can change the date or the length of it. So I can do 30 days, I can do 90 days, hit play, and now it's going to go through. You can drag this along faster and watch. There we go. And I can watch what's going to happen. Then it shows me the date right here in this little yellow marker. And that's how you use the transits. And that's my mandala view or my zodiac view of me. So hopefully that helped. If you have any more specific questions, feel free to throw them in here. My 58 doesn't connect, right? So pressure to expose the weakness, but not actually having awareness of what needs to be corrected. I can resonate with that a lot, because a lot of the times it's like, as a reflector, I feel like a lot of the times the most invisible person in the room, and I like it that way, because once I started to embrace that, then it's like now I can people basically just notice me a lot more. Like, Marco, what do you think about this? And it's because I'm not always talking, because I'm not always trying to be seen. People ask me a lot of questions a lot of the time. Up to the point now where I'm kind of starting to be a little bit more mysterious and just ask them like, well, what do you know about this? Well, what do you feel about this? Which I feel like is even more so reflector, because I have a lot of projector energy in me in terms of wanting to guide people. But although that's valuable, stepping back and learning how to be a better reflector, ask better questions, get them to talk about it, and guide the conversation with an even more subtle hand. That's been really fun. And fruitful for me personally. Why do I do that as a generator? Well, because you want something to respond to, I would say.
That's a good.
One of the things about being a generator is a lot of the times you don't give yourself enough time to respond. Like, the reaction is there, but you immediately are like, oh, that's a reaction. Okay, let me respond. Hold on a second. And like that, even in and of itself, could be a ripple of the reaction. And so a lot of the times, there's this taking time to pause and like taking even more time to actually respond and acknowledge that, like, okay, even though I'm doing better and taking time to pause and respond, there's also this part of you that is still going to be in a reactive state, and to give yourself even more time. And this is particularly true with the emotional authority. But again, especially with so much conditioning, the reactions are so present and immediate, and the gut is immediate too. However, if you're used to the mind reacting and going off of that, again, you got to give yourself even more time to respond, which is just like, a general theme of humanity is like, hey, slow down, because, if you go too fast, then you're going to end up in situations that are like not right for you. And yeah, so the gut is not as quick as the reactive mind, and it's especially if the mind is used to being in the driver's seat, right? Sometimes you think your gut is driving you, but it's still actually the mind. And so again, in the deconditioning process, there's a lot of again, trial and error with learning what is the actual gut response, as opposed to what do I think the gut response is, as opposed to what do I think the gut sounds like, as opposed to like what does the gut actually sound like. So much learning, so many humbling moments. And so with that, we're gonna end this show here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for participating. Have a lovely day. And we'll tune in a little bit later. Probably, I have a couple sessions today, but maybe we'll tune in later and do a line 3. We'll be around. So
I'll be here.
All right, guys. Big love to y'all.
Bye.
Peace. Ho.